So hello world, welcome to another tutorial where I will be coding a Notepad clone with Godot. Notepad is basically a text editor like VS Code and a text editor like this Godot script editor over here, but the difference between the two is that the Notepad obviously has less features, like doesn't have syntax highlighting and it doesn't have tooltips and whatever, so you can just basically write and save text, and those are the features I am going to be implementing in this simple Notepad clone. So if you like this kind of content and you would like to see more in the future, please do consider subscribing to the channel and liking this video. And also, if you have any questions or suggestions for content you'd like to see me do in the future, feel free to leave them down in the comments. You can also follow my GitHub and start some repositories there. I have some good content that you might like to see. So thank you for listening and let us get to the tutorial. So what I have here is the basic setup of the UI of the project, and at the top I have a control node, which is the root node, and a panel that acts as the background. I also have a VBox container which has two nodes inside. One of the nodes is a HBox container with the open and save button, and a text edit node where we will be writing and editing our text. What I also want to put here in the root node is another node, which is a file dialog node, which is what we'll be using to select the different paths for saving and for opening the file. So I can just save the scene now, and then I can unhide the file dialog so that you can actually see it. So what you'll notice first about the file dialog is that it's at the top left of the screen, and we don't really want that because who really puts their file dialogs over there? So how we can change that and put it to the center is we'll come here to the window section. When we select the file, we'll go to the inspector, then we'll come to the window section. Then I can change its initial position from absolute to center of the primary screen. So you can now see that it has moved to the center. Then next, what I'll want to do is to change the size of the window. I can change its width and its height, make it slightly smaller so that we can be able to see at least some of the data in the directory. So now I can change something else here. What you'll notice here is that the path edit in the dialog is that the path is going to the resources folder, so we really can't access anything apart from anything that's different from the resources folder. So if we want to be able to access stuff in all of the different parts in our computer, we have to come here to select the file dialog again. Then we'll come to its file dialog property, then change its access from resources to file system. Now you can see that we can access different parts of our file system in the computer, and we'll be able to navigate through everything. So we can now just save the scene and go to scripting. So I will attach a script to my main node, and then I will create it. I can now save the scene, and then I'll just remove the default text. What I'll do first is to reference the text edit node so that we can be able to use it easily. So I'll just drag it over here, and then I won't really need to reference all the other nodes because those ones are easily accessible. Like the file dialog is just one step away from the root node, so we don't really need to write long paths with slashes to access it. So yeah, we'll only be referencing that one. So now we will want to implement some features. So we'll implement the opening feature first. So how we'll do that is we'll select the button. Let's hide the file dialog first so that we can see it when we open the project. We'll have to see it only when we press open or save. So I'll come to the open button, and then I will take a signal so that when the open button is pressed, this script will run. So it will create a function. So when the open button is pressed, this will run. And what we want to do when the button is pressed is to take the file dialog, and then we'll press pop-up. So the pop-up method shows the file dialog. Next, when we check here in the file dialog, you'll notice that its file mode is save and its title is save a file. So we want to change those before we actually see the file dialog. So we'll just come here, then we'll select the file dialog and say file dialog dot file mode is equal to 0. So the 0th file mode is when we come here to the file dialog's file mode, which is save, we'll notice that there's a list here and the 0th index is open file, and this one is the one which you want to use. It's currently at file mode 4, which is save, and we are going to change that to 0. Next, we will change its title. So file dialog dot title, we'll change it to open a text file, or open whatever you would like. Then maybe you can move it slightly up there, or we can just leave it where it was. So when we open the file, it will change when we press the open button, it will open the pop-up and it will change its title to open a text and its file mode to open file. Next, we're going to create a function and we'll call it open file, open text file, or just open file, whatever you like. Let's call it open text file because we are working with text file, but it can open any type of text file. And the function will take in an argument, which is path, and the argument will be a string. Then we can write pass. So what I'll do next is I'll come here to the file dialog, and then I will connect a signal. What I want to do now is when we select a file on the file dialog, we want to do something with that file. So I'm going to connect that signal. So you've selected the file. I'm going to select that to connect that signal to the open text file function, so that when we select a file, this function is going to run. So I'll do that like this. So file dialog dot connect file selected to self dot open text file. So self dot open text file is this function over here, and then I'm going to select not file selected, file selected, because we're only going to be opening one text file. So I will connect that function, that signal, to this function, and you can also use the signal over here, but I just wanted to use this because I can. Why not? So once we select a file and this function is run, what we want to do is we'll create a variable called file, and this file will be equal to FileAcess.open, and then we'll open that path that we have gotten, or that path that we've selected, and the mode we're going to open it will be FileAcess.read. So we're going to read that file. Then we're going to create another variable called text, and this text will be the files.get as text. So we're going to get the file and we'll read it, then we're going to convert it into a text, and then we will take the text edit node that we have over here, and then we'll set its text to the text file. Finally, we can close the file so that it doesn't get corrupted, and we can test our scene and see if we will be able to open any files. So we don't really have any text file, or we have text files in our machine, of course, but I'll just create one in Godot for ease of access. So I'll just come here down to the resources panel, right click, and then I will create a new text file, and then I'll just call it text.txt and save it. Then I can write some text over here. So you can just close the file, and we can test if our app actually opens text file. So we'll just run the scene, and then we'll press open. We can see that we have our file dialog. Then we can scroll and look for the test.txt and then press open. And now we can see that we have been able to get the data from the text file to our app. So now we can get to saving. So what we'll do first for the saving functionality is go to the save button, and then we'll get a signal called pressed again. So when the save button is pressed, we want to do something. And what we want to do here is, let's go up here first. So we want to do, so for the save functionality, we'll actually be able to do things. So we'll be able to create new files, and then we'll be able to save on files that are already there. So how we'll be able to tell that we have opened a file and we want to rewrite the file that we had previously, or the file that we had opened, is we'll create another variable here. Let's call it file path, and the file path will be a string. And then it will be an empty string, of course, initially. Then when we open a file and we get the path in this function over here, what we can do is we'll set the file path variable equal to that path. Let me move this under this function. So we will set the file path to the file path that we've selected to this variable over here. So in the save function, we are going to say if we have selected any file path, or if we haven't selected any file path, we are going to do something. And if we have not selected any file path, if we have selected a file, if we haven't selected a file, rather, what we want to do is we'll take the file dialog, because our file path is empty. That means we don't really have any open files currently. So file dialog dot pop up. So we'll take the file dialog and we'll pop it up so we can see it, and then we'll select a path where we want to save our file. So file dialog dot pop up. Then you'll remember that we've opened the file, so our properties for the file dialog are for saving. So what we want to do, he will just copy all of this and then we'll put it here. So the file path is empty, we'll just put that there. We'll open the dialog and then we'll have to change some of its properties. So we'll change the file mode from 0 to 4, of course, so it can be in save mode. Then we're going to change this to save a text. Then instead of connecting this to file to open text file, we are going to connect this to save, to this save function. Or let's create another function for now. I thought I created that save function. Oh, I didn't. So I'll come here and create a function. Let's call it saved file, save text file, and it will also take in an argument, which is the path, and that path will be a string, and then we can write here pass. So instead of connecting this to open text file, we are going to say when we select a file now, we are going to save the file. So we're going to connect this to this function. And in this function, what we're going to do is create another file variable, and this file variable will be equal to FileAcess.open, and then we're going to open the path we selected, and then we will open it with file.write. So we're going to write to that directory. Then we will do file.store string, and then the string we're going to be saving is the text edit, the text edit node that we selected. So text edit.text. So we are going to be saving whatever text we have written in this text edit node. So so what we have to do last, of course, here is to close the file so that it doesn't get corrupted. So we have implemented the feature for saving if we have no currently opened file. So we are basically creating a new text file. But if we have opened a text file and we want to overwrite it, what we'll just do is save text file, and then we will pass in the file path, this file path variable over here, which was set when we opened the file. So we opened the file, we got its path and set it to here, and then we are going to be saving to that same file path. So now we have the features for implementing both when we haven't opened a file, and a feature for saving when we have opened a file. So we can run the scene and test it to see if it's working. So save, and then I will open a file, test.txt. Then we can press save. Then once we go back to our Godot editor, you can see it's asking us if we should relight the file, and that's because it's currently running, so some things might break, but no things will break here because we're just saving a text file. So I'll just discard the changes and reload the file, and we can see that when we open it, we have our saved text. So we are now able to open a text, edit it, and save it. And then we can see if we'll be able to save a file without opening it. So let's close our running scene, and then we can run it again. So I'm writing our base text, then I will press save, and we haven't opened any of the file. So when I press save, it's going to open the file path, the file dialog, and it's going to ask us where we want to save the file. So I'll just change this to test, maybe test2.txt, and then I can press OK. Then when I close this, we can see that our text has been created and it has the data that we have. So now we have a working text editor. You can of course add more features if you would like to. I personally will be adding more features maybe, and then I will be putting it up on my GitHub so that you can check the project or its progress. And then yeah, we basically have our working text editor. If you like this video, please do consider subscribing to the channel and liking this video. And also, if you have any questions about anything I did or suggestions for content that you'd like to see me do in the future, feel free to leave them down in the comments. And also, thank you for watching to the end of this video. And yeah, I think that's the end of this video. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.